Snow, ice, and craziness right now on Truckin' It.
Okay, so the winter storm has begun up in the Northeast. And they're telling everybody stay off the roads and stay home. Basically putting everybody into quarantine because of that white fluffy stuff that comes down from the sky, which is a whole different issue from the invisible crap that's been going around. Because obviously it's making the roads dangerous. So, on this episode of Truckin' It, I'm going to talk about winter driving. What you need to know and what you should pack. Because if you're ever sent into a snow and ice situation, you need to be prepared. That's coming up right now. Okay, friends and followers, welcome back to Truckin' It. And I want to talk with you all about winter driving right now. Now, the Northeast is getting smart finally. Because for years, they never closed roads in order to, let's just say, deal with a winter storm. Well, this year obviously is different. They're trying to keep as many people home as possible. So if you're going to be running up there, you really need to be prepared at this point. Because they're already experiencing their first major storm of the season. And I've driven through some of their snowstorms up there in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland, Delaware. And I can tell you, by experience, those storms get truckin' nasty. So, in this, I want to talk with y'all about a few things that you need to know. Number one, heed the warnings and advisories. This cannot be more important than it is now. Because not only do we have the pandemic ablazing, but I do not personally want to go out and rescue you when I show up to be first on the scene and your truck is in the median on its side and you're struggling to find where the switch is to shut down your engine and kick the windshield out. I've already witnessed that personally this year from a driver who fell asleep at the wheel and had the same consequence. Number two, know your limits. You really, if you're driving for the first time in a vehicle on snow and ice, you really need to prep. Especially if you run the southern states, it's most of the time, or you're from California and you don't know what you're doing because you run like San Diego to Texas, for example. You really, really, really need to practice on this condition, preferably in a parking lot, so you really get the feel of your vehicle before you hit the highway. I'd recommend that you don't listen to the CB chatter and all that stuff, and that you actually practice that on things like how to accelerate and brake gently, how slow should I start out, how do I use my diff locks when I need them, and how do I engage the truck's safety features. And one big one nowadays, especially with the advent of auto shift transmissions, how do I manually shift if it's enabled? Especially if you get up on a grade, because if you get up on a grade in these conditions, one of the big things, especially if you don't have a manual mode, is that you really need to reduce your speed before you get to the grade. And once you're on the grade, you need to make sure that your truck's staying in the correct gear and the correct mode for the conditions. Some trucks do have snow and ice mode. they'll indicate that with a little ice warner on your dashboard that looks kind of like a snowflake. But if yours doesn't, you really need to pay attention and watch the other traffic and watch what gear you're in. Hold the right lane. Don't go left unless there's an emergency. And watch your speed going down the mountain. Number 3, don't drive tired. Remember how I just said about the consequence of you tipping your truck and having to escape through the windshield? I actually, personally, encountered a driver who was in that situation back at the end of October. And snow and ice makes that situation even more dangerous. Because if you're tired, you're not going to have the ability to react to stopping traffic as quickly as a driver who just woke up a couple hours ago and is fresh off his caffeine. Or hers, if it's a woman. I need to let you know that you have to stay safe in this condition. And if you're not awake, alert, and rested because you've been fighting 40-mile-an-hour crosswind all day, or because you're been dealing with a bunch of slow traffic, or because you got a medical condition you don't know about, you need to make sure that you are staying safe out there on the road. And increase your awareness, increase your following distance, and be extra cautious so you're relaxed and not aggressive or tired. Number 4. Be prepared with your supplies. A snow brush, extra blankets, de-icer washer fluid, extra mechanical fluids like your oil, your coolant, and extra food. Preferably with some way to warm it up, like a microwave, or a Hot Logic, or a stove to go. And the reason why you need that is because when you finally get to that rest area that may not have services, that's bad enough, and you'll be limited to candy if you're heading there. If you're heading to a truck stop, there is nothing worse than literally slipping and falling on your ass and literally having to crawl to the truck stop entrance because you slipped on snow and ice as you were getting out of your cab and they haven't salted the parking lot. And by the way, I'm drawing on personal experience here for that one, because it happened in February 2011 in Atlanta, Georgia, of all places, a place you would normally think is warm or hot. So, I strongly beg you to be prepared with extra supplies on board your truck before you head into winter weather. Also, make sure you have spare wiper blades, because I've seen what happens when ice gets on the blades and the weight literally just snaps the blade off the arm, or worse yet, snaps the whole arm off the motor assembly. I mean, in snow and ice conditions. And really, it is not safe for that to happen. Especially when your truck has 400,000 or 500,000 miles. And you're having to find a TA or a nearby Freightliner that's open, or a Volvo dealer, or a Peterbilt dealer, or a Kenworth dealer, and find a replacement blade arm, only to realize that the dealer's telling you we don't have the parts in stock. So always carry extra blades, period. And if the blade starts getting really nasty and caked up with snow and ice, you'll need to manually shut your wipers off, get out of the truck, climb up, and actually clean the blades off with either your snow scraper or with, perhaps maybe you could just beat them on the windshield. Just do whatever you need to do to get that ice off the blades. And another thing you need to be aware of is how to use your defroster. And I've seen my co-driver struggle with this, because all these newer vehicles nowadays don't put the word defrost on there. They just put a little icon that kind of shows rising arrows. But the problem with that is you don't know how to turn it on if you're not trained or experienced in this condition. And you don't have to use it very often. So, read that owner's manual. Find out what your defrost icon looks like. It's usually that little windshield icon, or it's the word defrost, depending on your truck model. And it's much easier when you have the word on there. And I hope this helps y'all when you're out driving in winter conditions. And I want to say thanks to the very few subscribers that I have, by the way. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, you won't get any more content like this. Actually, I take that back. You won't get notified of any more content like this if you're not subscribed. So please, hit that subscribe button. Hit that thumbs up. And until next time, let's make your best trip your next trip. Keep learning, keep thinking, keep on trucking. Bye for now.